very smooth MC, ladies and gentlemen. You see Mark Lamar has found work eventually. Thank you. So it's, can I just say, none of the acts you're going to see are this tall. Let me just get rid of that. It's lovely to be here. Lovely to be in, what's it, Hooga, that's it. Hooga, sounds a bit like John Fashanu when he's drunk. It's lovely, really lovely to be here. It's a very cool place, this bar, very cool, very trendy. But I probably can't say trendy, can I? Very cool bar, and I know it's cool, because I arrived pretty early. There wasn't many people here when I arrived, and 3 people arrived at the bar after me, and I was still served after all them. That's how I know this is a really cool place. Because they see me with this hair that needs desperately a cut, and Ace written on my t-shirt, and high-tech silver shadow trainers. Oh shit! Someone just said at the high-tech show. Shit! And they see that and they say, no, we're not going to be serving you, not for a while. Anyway, it's lovely to be here, and welcome to the young ladies at the front. Welcome. I've been gigging for around about a year, and never have I yet had a gig where someone has worn so few clothes to one of my gigs. As one of the ladies, I won't embarrass the lady by saying which one it is. Basically, I think that the only thing of value to yet come from the Large Hadron Collider at CERN is the infinitesimally small hot pants that this girl is wearing. Brian Cox hasn't found dark matter, but he has found those hot pants. On an entirely unrelated note, earlier on had a very hot penis. Hot penis, that might sound rather unusual, but some of the men in the room may know what I mean when I say that I was in the gents a little earlier, and there's one of the cubicles, it's kind of a self-contained thing with a toilet and a sink and a hand dryer, and the hand dryer is positioned directly on top of the toilet. And I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but let's just say that my penis was big enough to set off the hand dryer, which made for an incredibly uncomfortable experience while urinating. Basically what I tend to do, what most people do often at gigs like this, is they'll come on, they'll do a bit of local material, or they'll talk about the room or the people in the crowd. But when you do that, you need to take notes, and I write them on my hand, usually. And so what I've ended up with is hair, cool bar, hot pants, hot penis. If anything terrible should befall this lovely young lady in the night, then this hand will be Exhibit A, I think, for the police, unfortunately. I don't know if you saw it, I came in from the train station, and then there's a place over the road, I wrote down its name, it's Back in Time, in with 2 N's, it's like a little food place, restaurant thing. And outside in neon, exactly like that in fact, they've got eats in neon outside. And then on the sign outside the bar here, they've got food or wine, beer, eats. Can I just let you know, Chelmsford, eats isn't a fucking noun. Food. It's quite simple. Food. So yes, my name is David. I need a haircut, but let's move on. Let's move past that. I was talking earlier on the phone to my mum as I was on the way to the gig here. I was on the phone to my mum, but after a few minutes, the phone cut out because she'd gone into a tunnel, unfortunately. But she wasn't driving or on a train. She works in the soft play area of a Harvester pub. And you have Harvester pubs in Essex, I suppose. Yeah, pubs, in fact, as they're probably known. So that's my mother. She doesn't really work there. She works at the Edinburgh Woolen Mill, which is a fascinating place with a very misleading name. Edinburgh. It's not in Edinburgh. It's all over the place. Mill. It's not a mill. It's a shop where people go to buy the last coat that they'll ever own. And Oh my God, it's like skins over here. It's brilliant. This is amazing. It's so beautiful in Chelmsford. I assume you do gigs out of London, and often you get these kind of crabby, deformed country folk, but this is extraordinary. It's not a mill, seamless packing material. It's not a mill, it's a shop. And anything that my mother has brought home from the Edinburgh Woolen Mill is never made of wool. Unfortunately, the Edinburgh Woolen Mill might as well be called the Bedford Cat Extravaganza. For all the relationship that it bears to what they sell. Other misleadingly named shops, Dixon's, is not owned by Lee Dixon, the former England and Arsenal right-back. Curry's, can't get a curry in Curry's. And PC World is incredibly racist. They advised me, the comics, to just wait for the laugh in this venue, in this gig. Just wait for the laugh sometimes. They're not going to come on some jokes. Some jokes are just shit. So this is, that's my mum. She lives in Devon. I'm from Devon originally. Anyone else in from that part of the world? Of course there isn't. Of course there isn't. No, we don't like to get out too much. I left about 10 years ago, though. I left Devon 10 years ago, so I'm not a racist anymore, which is quite healthy. It's an interesting part of the world. They have lots of fascinating little phrases and sayings that they use. They say things like "my lover" when they're talking to each other, or "proper job" if they like something, or "go away" if they're talking to people that aren't white and straight. Quite as nice of them. My mum used an interesting phrase herself the other day. She said, "It's as broad as it's long," which is quite interesting because that doesn't mean anything. I said, "Okay, Mum, what do you think about the war in Syria?" And she said, "Well, I don't know. It's as not in this voice, it's a bit higher." So I don't know. It's as broad as it's long, I suppose. Oh, okay. Well, okay, Mum. If you answer that phone, and then I'll carry on with the... I know that isn't your ringtone, Mum, but if you could... Bear with me. I said, "Okay, Mum, what do you think about the coalition government?" And she said, "Well, I don't know, it's as broad as it's long, I suppose." I said, "Okay. All right, Mum, what do you think about this rectangle?" She's got other phrases and sayings that she uses. She says, "I'm not so green as cabbage looking." I'm not so green as cabbage looking. And the literal translation of that is obviously, I am not the same colour as a cabbage. And what that means is that my mother's insane. Which is a pity. So that's that bit. That's the bit about my mum. Got another bit. I've forgotten it. It's all right though. It's all written on a piece of paper. This is all very professional. Tunnel, Edinburgh Woolen Mill, rectangle, rhubarb. That was it. Joke about rhubarb. I don't know if you've noticed the thing with rhubarb is that when you're eating, what's the thing with rhubarb? Ah, rhubarb was the punchline. Okay. Never mind. So yes, are there any homosexual prostitutes in tonight? I was in there last night. It was rammed. You couldn't move. Great news, really brilliant news for homosexual prostitutes. That man finds the very idea of a homosexual prostitute hilarious. They're gay and they sell their body. Great news for homosexual prostitutes because the Pope, we know the Pope, long white cloak, pointy white hat, big stick, but he's definitely not in the KKK. He came out recently, and he didn't come out recently. I think we can safely say he's straight. He came out at the end of last year, and he said that it's okay for homosexual prostitutes to use condoms. which is great news for presumably male homosexual prostitutes. I don't know what female ones would do with condoms. Wind chimes, I don't know. But this is great news, and the Pope said this in the same way that he says everything. I don't know if you've ever heard him speak live. He's got an interesting way of talking. He conducts his speeches in a mixture of Roman, no one spoke Roman for thousands of years, Latin, that'll be it. He dresses as a Roman when he does his speeches, but he speaks in an unusual way. He speaks in a combination of Latin and German and homophobia, which is quite unorthodox, but a requirement for the Pope. Now, you may not know this, but the Pope has a 115-inch reach. Not many people realise that. Which helped him to win the IBF Super Bantamweight title in 2003. Just a bit of fact for you. Back in his boxing days, he was known as Sugar Benedict. And his style of fighting would be to stay away from his opponent for as long as possible and tire themselves out before beatifying the referee and kicking the other guy in the nuts. That style of boxing came to be known as Pope-a-dope. Which is, oh yes, that's I apologize, I held your attention for too long, for too painful a punchline there. But he's got form, the Pope. When it comes to talking about condoms, he's got a lot of form. He talks about them quite a lot. Back in 2009, he said that condoms would do more to make AIDS worse in Africa than to make it better. And then he arrived in Africa on a speaking tour, and he complained because no one was taking any notice of anything else that he said. But that's the problem, Sugar Benedict. When you say something as batshit crazy as condoms will make AIDS worse, no one's going to listen to anything else you've got to say. Even if what you say is get out, the building is on fire, they're going to look at you and go, the fire? Oh, well, hold on a minute. You're the condom AIDS guy, aren't you? And you can't complain when no one listens to anything else you say, because complaining is like chopping off someone's head and then tidying that person's sock drawer and then complaining because the media is only paying attention to the head thing and nobody cares about the socks. It's not particularly helpful. He's a bit of a nutcase. The Pope, there's other nutcases around, people like Kim Jong-il. You all know he's the leader of North Korea, or to give it its full name, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which is the most misleading name for a country since the British Virgin Islands. And, what a waste of annual leave that was. I did that joke at a gig a few weeks ago, and someone came up to me afterwards and he said, oh, so what were they like, the British Virgin Islands? I said, what do you mean? He said you went to the British Virgin Islands. I said, no, it was a joke about me travelling to the other side of the world to find British virgins. I didn't really go there. And he went, oh, I thought you'd actually gone there. As if flying to the other side of the world to find something which I should probably be able to find in the UK would be funny. It's not funny, obviously. So that's what truth gets you. I'll give you a bit of truth, and it's not funny. Kim Jong-il, Little Kim is his rapper name. He's a nutcase. The Queen's a nutcase, I think. She's a little bit mad, but she is getting on. It's been a massive year for the royal family. Big year, huge year for the royal family. They had the royal wedding, and then they had Obama visiting. Huge year, massive. I mean, they're getting on, so that's a lot for them. That's a big year. But I don't really understand the royal family. There's some things about them I don't really get. I don't know. There's some members of the royal family who I don't know if they're actually proper members. Like Fergie is an example. Fergie for me is like the Middle East. I know that she exists. I know there's a lot of people who know quite a lot about her, and I'm pretty sure that she's got some significant oil reserves. But I don't really understand. It wasn't a good joke. You're right not to laugh. But I've got two more about Fergie. Let's see how they go. But I don't really understand if Fergie is like a proper, genuine, real member of the actual royal family, like Prince Harry, or if she's like a fake, like a fraudulent, not really a member of the royal family, like Prince Harry. That's a Prince Harry paternity joke. And yes, it's 15 years old in content, but I think the structure was unique enough to justify doing that joke. Thank you, Bobby. But I know a little bit about Fergie. I understand that there's a difference between the Fergie that was married to Prince Andrew, I think it was, and the Fergie who was on a billboard, massive 30-foot billboard, outside London Bridge Station in her underwear last year. I know there's a difference there, and I don't know what the latter Fergie was advertising outside London Bridge in her underwear, but I now own several bridges, which is not helpful, and barely funny, and it's alright, if it's not funny, I just point out it's not funny, and that in itself kind of works. So I'll be gone soon. I'll leave you with this. As I said, I'm from Devon, and I'm a bit of a country bumpkin as a result. I've only just moved to London, and I live in South London, and it's not. I'm not in my natural habitat there at all. It's not a shithole, to be fair, but you're a big lad, so it is a shithole. It's a shithole. But I often think, what would I do? How would I react if I was in a confrontational situation, like if I was being mugged or something? And clearly the first thing I'd need to do is not talk in this voice, because this voice won't help me if I'm being mugged. And the problem is that the more I talk about this voice, the more it starts to sound like I'm auditioning for the role as a local radio DJ. It's not going to help me. Is that a knife? Now here's Tony with a travel. It's not going to work. Problem is, the only voice that I can talk in that isn't this one is the voice of a television personality. But I actually think that maybe it would help if when I was being mugged, it could surprise and confuse a mugger if I said something like, would you like A, my wallet? B, my phone? C, my keys? Or D, a fight? Maybe that would work. The thing is, they want my phone. Of course they want my phone. But I'd need to keep my phone so I could call the police and say, hi, is that the police? Hi, police, I've got a mugger here. He's doing well, he's doing very well. That's it from me. You've been fantastic. I've been David Hannant. Have a good night.